So we are back, new week, new video, and today we are going to shoot a cinematic video using an iPhone. Yes, you have a very powerful tool in your pocket, and that is the camera that is in your smartphone. So let me show you how you can shoot a professional real estate video that you can actually make money from using your iPhone. So here we go. Alright, so as I said, we're talking smartphone videography, and this is not something that I fancy at all. I like to have a real camera with interchangeable lenses that I can put on a gimbal, and then I have full control over the shoot. But I hear this a lot: Peter, of course you can make great videos with all that expensive gear. But just remember that this is something I have collected over the years of shooting videos. And I also started from zero with no experience, and this camera right here, my old camcorder, JVC, it has tapes in it. Yes, this is what I started with. But of course, times have changed, and now we all have amazing cameras in our smartphones. And therefore I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could shoot a professional real estate video with my iPhone and this $59 2-axis gimbal. And then I added this dual handle grip and some weights for better control. So let's take a look at some of the footage that I shot, and then I'll give you a couple of tips of how you can do this yourself. So I'm actually pretty amazed with how the footage turned out and what I can achieve with my iPhone. And this just shows is that if you know what you're doing, you can make great videos with any camera. So I used the native camera app in the iPhone. I shot it in 4K 60 so I could slow the footage down in post. The iPhone 11 Pro has 3 lenses, and it is crucial that you use the power of all those 3, because this allows you to shoot either wide, medium or tight. Most of the shots has been shot with the wide angle lens so that we can get as much as possible within the frame. And there's also a couple of other advantages with this. The house will look much bigger, and when we shoot wide and slow the footage down, everything will look much more smooth. But we have one issue, and that is the native camera app. We don't have any control over shutter speed, ISO or aperture. And when shooting video, it is crucial to have the right shutter speed if you want smooth cinematic footage. You want the shutter speed to be double your frame rate, and I can't control this on the iPhone, so we will have to live what the camera gives us. And the reason why I didn't use the Moment app that gives me full control over the camera settings is that I wanted to see how the native app would perform in various conditions and not having to spend money on a third-party app. Alright, let's take a look at this setup and what you need to be aware of if you're shooting on something like this. Let me take the gimbal off. Here we go. So the gimbal is the zhiyun Smooth X. It is a 2-axis gimbal, and it is super cheap. $59 for this little guy, and it worked perfect for this shoot. But you can of course use any smartphone gimbal you want. So instead of just using this gimbal, I wanted to add some weight to my setup, because if your camera is too light, it is pretty hard to get a nice steady shot. So to fix this, I added this, the dual handle grip and these weights. And that left me with this setup. Put this one on. Super easy to set up, and it gave me a feeling of using a larger rig. And altogether this only cost $200. But there was one issue that bothered me a lot, and that was not being able to see the framing on an external monitor. And as you can see, I'm actually shooting blind here and I can't see my framing. But this is where my experience comes in, and most of the shot actually turned out great anyway. I did play all the footage back before I moved on to the next one. But there's one thing that's more important than the gear, and that is how you're using your iPhone when you're shooting. So let me walk you through some of these shots so you can see what you have to be aware of when you're shooting. So in order to capture great looking footage, you will have to work with the smartphone as if it was a professional camera rig. You have to move slowly and use the movement of your upper body and not only your arms. Then it's much easier to get that steady motion. And as you can see in this shot here, I'm moving in one fluid motion, creating a great looking shot. And when I'm walking, I use the heel to toe movement and I keep an upright position. This is a basic gimbal movement that will dampen some of that up and down movement we don't want in our footage. And remember, not only to show the house, you are also selling the location. Is it a lakeside house in front row? Then we want to show that as well, because sometimes location is more important than the actual house. So here I use my body to lift my arms up to reveal the lake right in front of the property. So as I said in the beginning, remember to use different focal length. And by using some foreground and switching to the tight lens, we can now get a close-up shot with some nice depth of field to it. And to make sure that the camera doesn't hunt back and forward, you simply press and hold the screen for 1 second and you will lock the auto exposure and auto focus. And then I simply move the camera slowly side to side to create some movement right in front of the lens. Yes, these shots are great to use within the movement of all the other shots. So another thing I discovered when using this rig was that now it was super easy to make some shots that was vertical, like for Insta stories or Facebook. All I did was double tap, and now I can shoot vertical and create some great Insta stories right here on the phone. So with that said, I actually like using this setup, but it doesn't compete with my glorious big setup over here, because there's something I can't do with this, and one of the things is color grading. I can't color grade it as I can with my big setup. Then I have to shoot in a flat profile and use the Moment app, which I talked about earlier in this video. But I will keep this gimbal in my bag and use it on shoots as well, especially for those small Insta stories. Great for that as well. But if you want to get started and you don't have a big setup like this, just start with your iPhone. Contact some of your local real estate agents and say, hey, I can shoot a video for you. Let me try it and we can see if we can work something out afterwards. That is it, guys. I don't have any more for you. This was the iPhone video of how to shoot a cinematic video or a real estate video with your iPhone. And of course, if this is the first time you're here, remember to subscribe if you want to learn more about filmmaking with motion. And lastly, stay creative and stay safe. And if you can, go out and shoot some dope videos. See you next time. Bye.